What's going on, people? Welcome to another episode of the Off the Ball podcast with me, your host, Chris Sabron. Now, on today's show, I got a special guest with me today, a guy that, I've been following for a while on Twitter, and we finally got to link up and do this show, and I'm super excited to have him on. My man, Mo Murphy from the UpNFlamez show. Man, Mo, what's going on, brother?
Hey, what's going on, man? I'm glad to link up with you. I'm glad to be a guest on your podcast, man. It's definitely been a little minute. We've been talking about it. We finally on, so.
Yeah, man. We've been trying to get this for a little bit now, but we finally got it, and we know it's going to be definitely a show that I'm looking forward to talking about. But first, before we get into everything we're going to get into as far as all your teams and stuff, just talk to me about your show. And it's a great show, by the way. You do a great job over there, and just talk to me about your show UpNFlamez and just how you got started with that, because that's something I really like talking about with other podcasters and stuff, is how they got started. Because a lot of people, everyone has their own stories of how they got started. Some people they just did it for fun, and then it just started going a certain way, and it blew up. So just tell me about the story about how you got your show started.
Yeah, so basically, growing up, I've always been into sports, like deep into sports. Like even when I was a kid, like it just came natural. I was knowing stats, impressing adults around me. Like, man, what does he know that for? Yeah. And so I always could see myself like, I was one of the kids, man, growing up. Where I grew up, like, man, it was either you go to the NFL or you go to the NBA. So, of course, that was my dreams, just like majority of us that are into sports. We all wanted to play pro growing up. But one other thing I knew I wanted to do was, like, man, if I couldn't make it, I'd love to be, like, a sports broadcaster. And then, like, as of recent, I've always been afraid to do it, been afraid to step out on that limb. My boy Cruz on the Football and Chill podcast had really opened his podcast on, reached out to me, because we would talk sports together all the time. Basically, it was like, hey, man, would you like to be on my show? Boom, he put me on his show. And then it was like, after that, he was like, man, you really could do this. Like, he was like, man, you know what I'm saying? Like, you should start your own. And I was like, yeah, man, that would be dope. Got on this show again, and then, like, other people hit me up like, man, you should start your own show too. Like, at the same time, let his show be his show. Y'all collab, get together. So then I went ahead and started my own show. And plus, like, I wanted to be able to talk about sports a different way than, like, you hear about it on ESPN and FS1, which is why, mine is a little uncut. I try not to say too much, but, at the same time, if I kept it the very professional route, it'd be like, well, we got all these people on ESPN and FS1 that we already been listening to for years. So I tried to come a different way, a different route about it. But ever since I've done it, man, I've connected with some good people, networking and everything like that. I've met some good people, been able to talk to some good people, actually been able to listen to other people that basically have the same idea as far as just talking sports, So I've heard a lot of other great podcasts, yours, Corey Harrison over there at the Out of Bounds podcast is another great one. Yeah, my man Cruz still putting out good content with the Football and Chill podcast. So it's just a bunch of people I've been able to, like, connect with, talk to, and hear different views, and even, argue or comment on something that they talk about on social media and things like that. So even though, like, right now it's just for fun, it's like there's a bigger plan. I'd love to make it bigger, and connecting with y'all. And then eventually, I'm on y'all's, putting y'all on mine so we can network and have each other, each other's audience listening to our content. So that's kind of the plan. I want everybody that's put me on theirs, I want to put them on mine too. And talk the same stuff so we can reach out and get bigger audience on both sides. So that's kind of what got me started. My wife encouraged me to do it after the fact, like I was like, yeah, I'm about to do it. She's like, you should. I've been thought you should have done this. So whole time I've had
same here. So yeah, that's dope, bro. I mean, that's similar with me, man. I love talking sports. Something we do, we do on a regular, whether you go into the store and you chop it up with whoever, or you're in, doing it, friends and family, and, like, why not just try to put this, out loud and see if people care what you have to say, And I think you can agree that when people hit you up and be like, yo, that was dope what you were talking about, or you had a dope show, I mean, that's awesome. Even if it's one person.
Disagree, like, people like, hey, bro, I was listening and I know you think this, but I think the other way. It's like, all right, man, like you could disagree. Nobody, the whole world ain't gonna agree with me, but it like make you feel good that man they was listening.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And they have an opinion on it. Like they even cared enough to reach out to you to let you know, man, hey, you was talking crazy, but you know what I'm saying? So dope, but I can't agree with you on that one. But I don't take it as like, oh, he hates my show. You supposed to disagree. At least I know you listening and you care to go ahead, because that's my biggest goal about it. Is like, man, I would love for people to give feedback. You can tell me I'm off the rocker for anything I say, but as long that made me feel good that, hey, man, we ain't always gonna agree. You could debate, we can argue, you can agree, whatever it is. At least I know you're listening and care enough to let me know what you think.
Exactly. Any feedback is good feedback. How I see it. If people listening, that's dope. And going about it in a way that's not hostile. Because it seems like, especially nowadays, you have a debate and everyone wants to be like, oh, you're stupid for saying that. That's ridiculous. Blah, blah. It's like, why can't we just have a civil? If you think one guy is better than another guy, or this team's better than that team, that's cool. That's your opinion. This is what we do. It's our opinions.
Right. Exactly.
So how can you get mad at whether it's an outrageous opinion or whether it's a logical opinion? It's an opinion. So I always get crazy when people get so uptight about an opinion,
Yeah.
Like I said, it's just crazy, it's my thoughts. It's that person's thoughts, so, who cares, if they don't have, you don't have to think the same way, but
exactly.
But to go at people hard, I mean, you see on Twitter and Facebook and IG, people be going hard, especially like with LeBron versus Jordan thing. I mean, if you think MJ's the GOAT, that's cool. If you think LeBron's the GOAT, that's cool. And the same thing with the old heads who think Magic is the GOAT, or Wilt's the GOAT, or Russell's the GOAT, or Oscar's the GOAT. That's cool. Everyone has different, we
came up in different eras. We got different opinions.
Man.
We witnessed different things, me being younger. But I even, so yeah, it's all different. It's all opinionated. And sometimes, them opinionated debates get heated just because the passion for your team, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
sometimes you get a little, not hostile, but you get a little, just passionate about it. That's me when it comes to my Buckeyes like that. Oh, you can't tell me nothing about my Buckeyes, man. That's the one team I ride out for till the death of me.
Bird. All right, so let's get right into it. Let's talk about your Buckeyes. Obviously the season, you had a tremendous season. It didn't end the way you wanted to, obviously, but just talk about that last season and just that, with Justin Fields and he had a tremendous season. He just balled out. Was a finalist for the Heisman Trophy. Transferred from Georgia. I'm still shocked that he even went to Georgia, knowing that Fromm was probably going to have the job no matter what. That kind of shocked me too. Especially with Eason having going through the same thing. I thought Justin would probably go somewhere else, knowing that Fromm's entrenched as a starter no matter what. It wasn't a matter of him losing the job. It was just Fromm's got it.
That's it. He ain't doing enough to lose it.
Yeah, exactly. I think people get that Fromm beat out, Eason and he beat out Fields. Like, no, not really. Like he's the guy and they're comfortable with him as a starter.
Right.
It wasn't a matter of Fromm beating him out. It was just that's their guy. He's been a starter for a few years, so why change it up now? We had to change the whole offense, especially for Fields, because he's super dynamic. So, it was good for him to go, especially to Ohio State, where he was gonna start right away and stuff. So just talk about the season and his progression, Justin Fields' progression and everything, because you guys had a tremendous season. Obviously, like I said, didn't end well, but it's not like you lost to a scrub team. You lost to a pretty good football team. So just talk about the season.
So ultimately, my expectations from the beginning of the season, we exceeded those. Just because not being able to see Justin Fields play that much from Georgia, I knew he was a top quarterback coming out, but sometimes when they get there, they kind of lose their confidence. When a guy like Justin Fields, he was neck and neck with Trevor Lawrence their whole life, so sometimes when you get that little slice of humble pie, sometimes you might not recover from it. So him transferring to Ohio State, I knew what he could do, but I never was able to really see much of what he could do. I knew he was a top dual threat quarterback. I knew he was 1 and 2 with Trevor Lawrence coming out of high school. So I just didn't know with having a new quarterback, especially having to replace what Dwayne Haskins did the year before. You know, he did throw
man.
52 touchdowns. And so I was like, okay, man, we might lose a game or two. You know, that's typically the expectation is like undefeated, a one-loss season for Ohio State. I mean, anything other than that is typically a failure in most of the Buckeyes fans' eyes. But once we got to rolling, we struggled a little bit. Like, yeah, we blew some of the early teams out, but it was still it wasn't as convincing. And that was just because the team had to get right. But once I seen Justin Fields fit the offense perfectly, you know, typically we have the dual threat quarterbacks that, you know, most of our quarterbacks don't do anything in the NFL, which I'm fine with. But once I seen he was a dual threat quarterback, he was a lot faster than I thought. But what impressed me about Justin Fields is he could throw the ball a lot better than I thought. Like,
sure.
I think he'll transition into the NFL just fine after this year if he decides to go after this year. But once J.K. Dobbins got to rolling, he got that feature back again, you know, because the year before it was him and Mike Weber. And so he had a slump during the sophomore season. But honestly, we exceeded expectations from what I had in the beginning. But once we got to rolling, I didn't think there was a team better than us. I didn't care who it was. I didn't think Clemson was better than us. I still don't. I didn't think LSU was better than us, and I still don't. But, like, LSU was the best team. Okay, they won the national championship. They put up ridiculous numbers. But, like, we were top 5 on both sides of the ball. Like, we had a top 5 offense and a top 5 defense. And I think that's where LSU would have struggled a little bit with us is because sometimes defense wins games, and it's not about we would have held LSU to less than 40 points. All it takes is can your defense, when you got two high-powered offense, whose defense can make that one stop at the end of the game? That's when it come down to can defense win championships. Yeah. So I felt like we should have beat Clemson. So it was definitely disappointing because I still feel like we were better than Clemson. Sean Wade getting kicked out the game hurt us for sure. I'm not going to say it's the reason we lost, but it hurt us for sure. J.K. Dobbins being injured hurt us and having to sit out a couple drives. That hurt us because he was rolling. He was unstoppable. Justin Fields started off a little shaky, but it was fine because in that game, Clemson started off horrible. So, Fields got the rolling. Dobbins was rolling there. He hurt his ankle. Sean Wade getting kicked out of the game. That fumble recovery for a touchdown that they turned over and called an incomplete pass was horrible. I think that was probably the worst call of the game. That and that targeting, because I'm sorry, Sean Wade.
The targeting one was bad.
Trevor Lawrence dropped into it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like he can't prevent that. If a man drops down, I hit him in the head. It's not my fault. And I even think with Justin Fields, the interception at the end of the game, like, I really feel like he blew it, obviously. But, like, one, the dude slipped when he broke off his route. Two, if you go back and watch that play, Justin Fields had plenty of room to run. He may not have got a first down, but he had plenty of room to run.
I remember
honestly might have scored the touchdown, but even benefit of doubt, we still have another play to run another. Like, we still had a ball in our hands for another play. So I do think he blew that. Whether the dude stayed on the route or not, it was probably going to be a pick. Isaiah Simmons was sitting on that the whole time. So I just feel like Justin Fields blew that. And I really do think we kind of gave up. Trevor Lawrence didn't really kill us. He killed us more with his legs than his arm, which kind of surprised me. I didn't realize he was that athletic. I hated to find out against us how athletic he really was.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I think going into this year, we're a favorite, you know, right there with Clemson and Alabama, the typical ones who are favored to win the championship. But when I look back at it, like, overall, man, first-year head coach with Ryan Day, we had lost a couple recruits going into the season. So there's a lot of things where I didn't think we would be as dominant as we were. Having a first-year head coach, a first-year quarterback, you know, like the talent we lost from last year, we lost a lot. So it was like I didn't think we would be as good. Obviously, the expectation for Ohio State is at least Big Ten championship, but I didn't even think we'd meet that. I thought, you know, going into the season, Michigan was supposed to be better than us once again.
Every year, Michigan's supposed to be better, and then they wound up doing the same thing they do every year, just disappoint.
Yeah, like, once again, you know, listening to all these other shows and people, these analytics is like, Michigan's going to win the Big Ten. They're going to top out. And I'm like, well, you know, this might be their year. You know, we lost a lot. I don't know if a dude can replace Dwayne Haskins. And then, boom, Michigan is Michigan. And Ohio State surprised everybody. I mean, Chase Young breakout year. He very well. You take away Joe Burrow's historic season, Chase Young very well could have won the Heisman.
Yep.
And he missed 2 games, and he still was in the Heisman run. So, that's Joe Burrow he deserved the Heisman. Of course, he was going to win the Heisman. He had a historic season, arguably probably the greatest season any quarterback has ever had. But
yeah, no doubt.
Look at Ohio State. Even after that, still had 2 people as Heisman finalists that could have won the Heisman. Like, I find it a successful season. We had 2 people go top 5 in the draft. So I'm good with everything we had. I'm good with what we got going into next year. And the way our 2021 recruiting class is looking like, I'm good with what Ohio State got set up for the future. Yeah. Ryan Day proved himself that he could take the keys from Urban Meyer. So I'm just excited about Ohio State for the future. I know a national championship is coming within the next couple of years. I know it is. Just got to wait. It could be next season. It could be the season after that. But I know great things are coming for Ohio State. Our recruiting classes are spectacular. Our coaching is spectacular. So it's just I'm excited for what Ohio State has to come in the future.
Yeah, man. You guys just seem to just keep getting talent after talent. I mean, you lose Joey Bosa, you got Nick Bosa, and you got Chase Young. I mean, how many programs have 3 pass rushers like that go top 5 in the draft, top 3 in the draft, with 3 guys like that. And it starts with Urban Meyer. Obviously, he's helped, put that program back on the map, because there was some downtime for your Buckeyes. There was some tough. But once Urban took over, he just that program back into shape and back into prominence. The first year of the new format for the playoff, win the national championship.
Backdoored our way in and won.
Yeah, and win the national championship, and it's just and Ryan Day obviously learned so much from him, taking over the program, and it all comes down to one thing too: is quarterback play. That's the difference between you guys and Michigan. Michigan has not had good quarterback. I mean, they thought Shea Patterson was going to be the guy, and he just wasn't that dude. He was a 5-star, but he just hadn't shown. He's just super inconsistent, and that's the difference. You guys have had consistent quarter. I mean, just look at Joe Burrow was a Buckeye. Kate Martell, who plays for my Canes, he was there. I mean, just look at the quarterback rooms you guys have had throughout the years, and continue with Justin Fields now, and then that puts you right on the map to get back to the playoff and possibly get back to a national championship. And that puts you guys right back on it. And it's just, it's just unbelievable what you guys, what Ohio State has done throughout the years to just develop their talent, on each side, especially defensively, what they've done, line, the linebackers, and of course the secondary has got a whole bunch of first-round picks all over the league, So, the Buckeyes are definitely going to be in good shape no matter what, especially, consistent quarterback play. And Justin Fields here for probably his last year. This is probably it for him. He's probably going to be the top pick or at least top 2 pick for sure. Him and Trevor Lawrence, whether, it's a matter of which quarterback you prefer. But, it would not shock me if you guys are right back in that playoff and contending for a chip. Maybe against Clemson for the national championship. That would be definitely a fun matchup for sure. But your Buckeyes are definitely continue to just dominate, especially in the Big Ten. There's no one close in the Big Ten for Ohio State at all. Not even Michigan. Michigan is still Ohio State could single-handedly get Harbaugh fired just on that alone for not beating you guys since he's been there. He's had a couple close games, but he might lose his job. I think he shouldn't lose his job because other than not beating you guys, he's done a good job. Because especially with he hasn't had the greatest recruiting. But the Buckeyes are still killing it, and we'll see how they fare this season. But you got that guy at quarterback, man. Anything with that man, he's a dog, man. He's a dog.
Yeah,
he's so good, man. He's special, and the good things are coming. Good things are coming for him in his future for sure. But
I hope so.
Yeah. So let's transition from your college team, and let's talk about a team that the New York Giants fans don't like talking about that much, but we'll talk about your boys. We'll talk about them boys. Talk about your Cowboys. Obviously, last season didn't go didn't go well, but Dak did his thing. Dak has definitely showed that he's played well above that fourth round draft pick that he was.
Oh, most definitely.
He's definitely showed it. So talk about everything that's going on with Dak and the contract stuff. Would you give him a long-term deal, or are you just playing it year by year as far as giving him the franchise? Because, he's going to get franchised. Now, hasn't signed it yet, I don't believe. But,
no.
Do you see him as the long-term quarterback for the Cowboys, or are they just playing it like the Redskins did with Cousins and just going year by year? So what's your thoughts on the whole Dak situation?
So I think Dak is definitely our franchise quarterback. Now, on a couple of my shows, I've knocked Dak, which I still never said he wasn't our franchise quarterback. I just knocked him because we offer him $33 million a year. We did 5, he wants 4. He's 26, so I understand he wants to be 30 with another shot at a huge contract, the free agency, the TV money go in. There's a lot of factors that us as fans don't always necessarily pay attention to. So he wants 4 instead of 5. He wants more than 33. They said at first, for the most part, they say the 33 is okay with him, but he wants 4 instead of 5. I don't get why Dallas is waiting. I don't want to see them play that game with Dak, the Redskins play with Kirk Cousins, but it might end up benefiting Dak. Like, Kirk Cousins is like the wealthiest quarterback that has ever played the game.
My man finessed the system, man. He finessed the system hard, bro. He got paid.
I almost wonder if Dak can do the same thing. Like, if Dak is thinking about doing the same thing. Like, for the long term, if he gets hurt, it turns out to be a bad idea. But, it was great for Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins didn't get hurt. He played his 2 years under the franchise tag. He left. He got a nice deal from Minnesota. Mm-hmm. Boom. A year or two before he's even eligible for contract stitch, boom, he gets another one from Minnesota. You know what I'm saying? Another $30 million a year extension. So Kirk Cousins played the game and played it right. But is Dak willing to bet? He hasn't been hurt yet. Is he willing to bet on himself as on the injury side? The injury, especially quarterbacks, they bound to get some type of injury. Nothing career ending, but I mean, even Tom Brady tore his ACL, missed the season.
Exactly.
Peyton Manning broke his neck.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, even these great quarterbacks have missed a year, or, Andrew Luck got tired of having concussions and injuries and retired. Mm-hmm. So, you know what I'm saying? Drew Brees with the shoulder. Like, it's just so many of the great quarterbacks that had these injuries. So, like, I feel like it's just bound to happen. God forbid it happens, but I don't know. I think he should take the long-term deal. If he wants 4 years instead of 5, Dallas should give him 4 years. If his intentions are just to sign later on, 4 years later, with Dallas for more money, Dallas should almost give him what he wants besides the money. Like, I wouldn't give him no more than $33 million a year.
That's a lot of money. That's a nice.
That's a lot of money. But any more than that is like, if you're talking the $40 million range, like, you talking Patrick Mahomes money, you talking Deshaun Watson money. I like that, but he ain't no Patrick Mahomes.
No.
Deshaun Watson.
No, I think maybe he's waiting on Patrick Mahomes' situation, because I mean, we all know Patrick Mahomes is gonna get the bag. I don't know if he's waiting for that and seeing how much Mahomes get, but that can also be risky too, because let's face it, he's not Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is on another level of quarterback play. I mean, he's only in year. This is he just played his 3rd year in the league and already has an MVP, a Super Bowl MVP, and a bunch of comebacks in the playoffs. 20 like legendary comebacks in the playoffs. Something we've never seen before. So. I hope he's not playing that game where he's waiting to see and then try to like get more than Mahomes, because then that's a game that he won't win for sure. That's not even close. Even Deshaun Watson too. That's the deal. Sean's going to get paid too, a whole lot of money too. So, I also see this for the Cowboys. whether Dak is an elite quarterback or not is, that's for anyone's, to say. He's shown that he is a very good quarterback, and finding a quarterback who's very good is hard.
Yeah.
Look at the Jets. Look at all these franchises, the Jets, the Bills, all these franchises who have the Browns, who have not found, great quarterback. They think they have it. We still haven't seen with those teams if those guys are truly, even good quarterbacks. We still have time to see, but, Dak has shown that he's a very good quarterback, and he can play. He can make plays. Now, whether he's a Super Bowl level quarterback, we don't know. That's more of how you build the team around him. But, that's something they have to figure out. But if you don't sign him and you play that game and then you let him walk, who are you going to replace him with?
That's the scary thing about the situations like this is like, it's the most important position. If it was a wide receiver or whatever,
you let him walk.
It is
whatever.
what it is. I'll find one in the third round. I don't care.
Exactly.
But with the quarterback, you lose your quarterback. Typically, you rebuild it. Like your quarterback walk out, you rebuild it. Like for the most part, not everybody has a dime a dozen quarterback in the bag. Like, especially we didn't draft one. I mean, we signed Andy Dalton, which I do like that signing.
He's a solid back. That's solid. He's solid.
And that's why if Andy Dalton is your backup, you in good shape.
Yeah, he's the best backup in the league right now. He's the best backup.
Yeah. And I don't think he was brought in to take Dak's job. I think he was brought in case Dak. They're gonna let Dak do what he wants to do. He's not. If Dak decides to play, Andy Dalton is not taking Dak's job. It's not happening. But if Dak decides, man, I'm not playing under the franchise tag, which would be stupid. Why skip out on $31.5 million?
That's a lot of money.
Get nothing. So because that's a lot of money. So if Dak decides not to play, we have Andy Dalton. And I also think it's possible that maybe Andy Dalton not going to take Dak's job this year. But if Dak don't come on a long-term deal, maybe they let Andy Dalton work in Mike McCarthy's system, learn a little bit for a year, play the backup role, not really play. And then if Dak's still talking crazy in their eyes about the money situation, about the length of the contract, then they let Dak walk and sign Andy Dalton for a lot cheaper, which means you can continue to build your team. Because that's the only scary part is like we've built our team. We paid Zeke. We've paid Coop. We paid DeMarcus Owens. We paid Jalen Smith. We about to have to pay Van Der Esch. So, like, we've built our team already. Mm-hmm. Our team is set. But when you start needing a piece, like you one or two more pieces away from the season before, paying Dak $35, $36 million sets you back from that. Like, you have the highest paid running back in the league. You have the second highest paid wide receiver in the league. You have the highest paid defensive end in the league. You have one of the highest paid linebackers in the league. Like, so because and that's why we let Byron Jones go. You can't have the highest paid at every position, no matter how good a guy is. Like, either A, you can't pay him as much as he wants, or B, you got to let him walk just because you got to show some loyalty, but at the same time, you only got so much money you can divvy out. And you have, 55 players on the roster that you have to pay. Mm-hmm. So, it's tough to keep some of your best guys. That's why we had to let go of Byron Jones, which I'm fine with. We replaced him in the draft with Trayvon Diggs. But I just think I could see Dak not being a Cowboy after this season just as much as I could see him agreeing on a long-term deal. But I more would lean towards he's not signing a long-term deal this year. He might sign that franchise tag and play, but I don't think he's signing a long-term deal just because, like, I don't know. It's just I think if he was going to sign a long-term deal, he'd sign one by now. And I think Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones are out there, we're going to get one done. We're close. Just to leave everybody kind of something to talk about. Well, what's taking so long? This, that. They're not close. I don't think they're remotely close. Like, after they agreed up on that number and didn't get it signed, that's why you should have signed them before the season started. You signed Zeke. You know what I'm saying? You had committed to signing Cooper. Like, but you never fully committed to signing Dak. Like, just by your actions. Like, you signed Zeke when he had no leverage. I love Zeke to death, but he had no leverage to get that kind of money. Like,
not at all. But
Jerry Jones kind of knew, which was kind of they were sitting on the fence. Like, all the way up until last year, it was like Dak's success was a lot of piggybacking off of Zeke's success. Mm-hmm. So everybody was kind of afraid of, like, man, if we don't have Zeke, are we even going to have the same type of offense? So, and I think that was a fear, was like, man, we could lose a lot of players on this offense and we'll be okay. But I think they held more value to Zeke than they did Dak. Like
100%.
most definitely, because 2 years before you have to pay him, you give him that bag and give him that contract extension.
Yeah.
You really could have played the game his fifth year option, and you could have franchise tagged him
Exactly.
twice.
They could have waited to pay him if they wanted to. Really,
So you realistically, like, he's playing under his, you know what I'm saying? So you realistically could have fifth year optioned him and then franchise tagged him twice. So you really could have played the game for another 3 years. But I think that fear of, like, what Zeke had did them first 3 years was, like, it seemed like that's why Dak was so successful, you know what I'm saying? When Zeke running for 1,600 yards and this and that, running the ball down the throats of the league is like, okay, it's easy to come off that play action and pass. It's easy to run that run-pass option that we will run. So, but I don't know, man. I think Dak is the future. Now, there's a price on the future, you know what I'm saying? And I wouldn't overpay for my future because we've already kind of paid. We've divvied out all the money we could divvy out.
Yeah.
We paid Dak more than that $33 million he wants. We not getting no type of – we getting veteran one-year guys from here on out to add to the rest of the roster. After we pay Dak and Vander Esch, it's like, yeah, we got them locked up, but we paying 1 year veterans that we'd have to show we could win a Super Bowl for them to come sign with us for the veteran minimum.
Yeah.
So, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, man. I pay him the 33. If he wants 4 years instead of 5, if that's what's holding y'all back, give him the 4 years, $33 million a year, and give him the $110 million guaranteed or whatever. If a year is holding you back and he's already committing and he wants to be a Cowboy, but he just wants that bag later, give him the 4-year deal. Unless Mike McCarthy's came in and said, man, I need a year to evaluate Dak as his coach, because maybe he's not Mike McCarthy's guy.
Exactly. Yeah, too.
That's another thing I'm thinking. And, with new head coaches jobs depend a lot on quarterback. Coaches get fired because of quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
Quarterbacks don't get fired because of coaches.
No.
Coaches get fired because of quarterbacks. So I ain't saying that solely because of quarterbacks, but you don't have a good quarterback, you can guarantee your job going out the window, because you don't have a good quarterback. You really don't have a good team.
No, not at all.
You're not succeeding without a good quarterback. So
yeah.
And I think Mike McCarthy might just be sitting there, like, hey, I'm gonna evaluate him this year. But let's franchise tag him, evaluate him. If I feel like he's my guy at the end of the season, we have some success. I feel like he's my guy. He works well in my offense. Then maybe they'll be talking about giving him the $40 million bag at that point. But I just if the difference is 4 years instead of 5, give him the 4 years and keep it moving, man. You'll have him the next 4 years, and then give him another deal 4 years from now. Or he walks and you decide, give him 4 years, and then next year draft a possible guy that the Packers did with Jordan Love to Aaron Rodgers. You know what I'm saying?
That's a situation I could see the Cowboys doing for sure. Because what also surprises is that, I mean, they gave Amari Cooper the bag before they gave Dak the bag, and that's usually backwards. Like, usually it's the other way around. You pay the quarterback first before you pay a wide receiver. And that just shows that I don't think that they're 100% on Dak, and I just think that they rather just go the franchise tag route, see how he does this year. If y'all don't make the playoffs, if there's no playoffs, and he's playing still at a good level and hasn't took that next step, I think they're cool with having him walk and keeping Andy Dalton on the cheap and having him play, and then drafting a guy next year, or whether they trade up and do something crazy, knowing Dallas, that you guys are always bound to do something crazy like that. Maybe trading up and get one of those quarterbacks, maybe depending where they are in the draft. It might cost a lot, but Jerry Jones Jerry Jones is willing to risk it if he thinks he can get his guy. So but I think that's something that's my gut feeling of what's going to happen. I think Dak, this is it for Dak this year, especially if there's no playoffs, and Jerry Jones is going to go somewhere else. And like I said, the Dalton drafting a quarterback, like how, kind of how Green Bay did it with taking Jordan Love and just developing him and seeing how that goes. Because as much as Mike McCarthy gets a lot of crap for like what he did in Green Bay, or like not. Oh, he's won a Super Bowl, obviously, but a lot of people felt like they should have done more. He's the big reason why Aaron Rodgers is where he is right now. As far as just
exactly
fixing his whole. I mean, people forget Aaron Rodgers was throwing the ball like this coming out of college. So he was a reclamation project. You know, it wasn't just instant. He had to wait, and obviously they had Favre, but Mike McCarthy's good with quarterback. He's developed he's helped develop Aaron Rodgers into what he is now, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. So, he might just be like, let me, I think Dak is what he is. Let me get a guy next year and we could develop him. We could have Dalton just take over. And, and it's not like Dalton's an older quarterback. I mean, what is he, 30, 31 years old? He's still relatively young for a quarterback, so he could still play. He just fell in the trap where, Cincinnati's going through a rebuild and they just want number one pick. You take a quarterback number one, he's going to start right away. So Dalton was kind of, in a bad place. But, that's also a situation I can see because, like I said, you guys paid a lot of people. A lot of guys got the bag from the Cowboys. So, Harry might be like, if we sign Dak long term, that's just going to put us in a we can't sign Van Der Esch. We can't sign some of our guys on the line. We can't sign, some of our D. It's going to hurt the rest of your team. So, that's something that I think that Jerry's definitely going to be looking into, finding cheaper solutions for quarterback instead of paying a guy who he might not think can take him to that next level and winning a Super Bowl. Because Jerry's itching to get back there. It's been a while. It's been a long time since the guy's been to the Super Bowl. So, that's going to be interesting to see, especially after this season, how the whole Dak thing pans out. Because I think eventually Dak will sign that franchise. He would be that wouldn't be smart for him to not sign it and just not play or hold out. He should sign that, bet on himself. If he balls out and make the playoffs, man, his price tag goes up more. Or if he don't sign with the Cowboys, someone else will sign him for the back. So, it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah. So, but how did you feel about, the draft and stuff with the Cowboys? Obviously, you took CeeDee Lamb, and that just gives Dak another weapon, gives him another weapon to work with. So how did you feel about taking Lamb? I mean, I know that's probably not I'm sure you guys wanted Lamb, but not realistically, everyone thought Lamb would go higher. And the fact that he fell to you guys, how did you feel about taking CeeDee Lamb?
I love the pick. I love our draft. People thought with taking CeeDee Lamb come the first round, people thought with us taking CeeDee Lamb, we wouldn't be able to fill our needs based off of we needed a safety, we needed a corner to replace Byron Jones. And I'm not going to lie, when CeeDee Lamb was sitting there at 17, I said, you have to take him. I don't care what I need. You take the best player available. And that's what a lot of these teams did, went best available over need. I mean, look at the Cardinals taking Isaiah Simmons. Yeah. We all knew they needed an offensive lineman, but Isaiah Simmons was sitting there at number 9. They was like, yeah, we definitely, at number 8, we definitely snagging him. Like, you didn't think he'd be there, so now that he's there, that changes your whole mind. With CeeDee Lamb being there, I'm definitely surprised, especially with 2 other receivers being drafted ahead of him. I understand Jerry Jeudy being drafted ahead of him. They were kind of neck and neck on who the best receiver in the draft was, but the fact that the Raiders had all opportunity to take whatever receiver they wanted, and they went Henry Ruggs, like, I appreciate the Raiders. I appreciate the 49ers for not getting a receiver. And I appreciate the Falcons for – I didn't think they was going to get a receiver anyway, but I just appreciate them for not trading with Philly to let Philly get CeeDee Lamb. Yeah. We was able to get Trayvon Diggs in the second round. Every pick we took was like guys fell to us. Like they were not supposed to be there. Even on 5th or 6th round pick, Bradley Anai, the defensive end from Utah, he was third team. He was third team All-American as a defensive end in the country. He was first team All Pac-12 All-American in the Pac-12. So both for a guy to be that good, be considered one of the top 6 to 8 defensive ends in the country and fall in the 5th, 6th round was a steal. That offensive lineman, the center that we got from Wisconsin was a steal. He won. He won the best center of the year award in the same conference that Cesar Ruiz went in the first round in.
And he was a first-round pick, Cesar Ruiz. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I think we got high value for all our guys. We drafted another corner later on. I think we got high value with everybody that we took. I think by the 7th round, we felt like we took all our needs and we got the one quarterback. I don't even remember what his name is. Yeah. I feel like at that point, it was the 7th round. Jerry Jones was like,
Yeah.
let's just get a quarterback. Let's just keep it moving.
Yeah.
It was not a sign that we found our guy in the 7th round to replace no Dak or nothing like that. It was just Cooper Rush was leaving. Let's get a little backup quarterback or whatever. But I think we nailed the draft. I'm willing to argue that we had the best draft, but there's a few teams that had a great draft though and should feel really good coming out of the draft, like about their improvement. The Ravens are one. After drafting free agency, like there's a lot of teams that improved, and what's scary is some of the teams that improved were already like the Ravens top notch.
The Ravens.
Like, the Ravens top notch, and they improved. You know, the Bills are going to take that next step based off of free agency and the draft. They're going to take the next step. The 49ers had a good draft. You know what I'm saying? They had a good draft. They didn't really make too many moves in free agency, but in the draft, you know, they replaced DeForest Buckner, which kind of surprised me. Like, I trade DeForest Buckner for the 13th pick to take his replacement.
Yeah. I guess because they didn't want to pay him all that money. That's probably what it's come down to.
And I feel that, but at that point, like, you didn't need nobody on the defensive line. Even getting rid of DeForest Buckner, like, you could have got your guy on the defensive line with your number 30 pick in the first round. Exactly, I thought for sure they was going receiver. You had Judy and you had Lamb available to you. Receiver and corner were your two of your biggest needs on your team. I'm like, they're gonna go Jerry Judy.
I thought it was Judy too, man. I thought it was Judy for sure. But
yeah, I'm like, okay, Judy going. And then for you to go ahead and get a receiver later in the first round shows that you addressed your need, and you go and get Brandon Ayuk, which isn't a bad pick, but it's like, I don't understand why get the third or fourth best available guy you had. Like, Vegas already blessed you and took Henry Ruggs. Like,
exactly. The Raiders helped a lot of teams out as far as receivers. Right? Denver was probably like, what?
You know what I'm saying? They had Ruggs. They had a lot of people had them taking Ruggs just because Judy or Lamb was going to the Raiders, and people also thought like the Jets might reach and get a receiver. So you didn't think they was going to be – only person that was going to be available was Ruggs by number 13. And then for you to have Judy and Lamb available to you and you didn't get neither one and still address the wide receiver position in the first round, kind of threw me off. Like, but they're still going to be a good team, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, the free agency and the draft, I feel like we have an A-plus grade in the draft. Free agency, I give us like a B. You know what I'm saying? We made some moves. We lost some in free agency, but we also made some moves to slow down the burn of losing, like, you know, certain people. We got Alden Smith coming in, which if he gets reinstated and can be good, I know he hasn't played in years, so I'm not expecting him to be, you know, the Alden Smith that he was, but he should be pretty good. Randall Gregory's supposed to be reinstated and coming back. We got Gerald McCoy on the defensive line. You know what I'm saying? So Clayton Dix is safety, which to me is an upgrade over Jeff Heath. So we made some good moves to lessen the blow of losing like Byron Jones and Robert Quinn and things like that. And then with the draft, so I think Dallas should be a playoff team next year. You know, us Cowboys fans, we always do, but like, there's no excuse this year. Like, you gave Dak another weapon. He has a top 5 offensive line. He has a top 5 running back. He has a top 5 wide receiver. You got a top 3 wide receiver core. I mean, it's not too many cores that's going to be better than Gallup, Cooper, and Lamb. So, you know, you gave him a new coach. You know what I'm saying? You kept him with his offensive coordinator so he's familiar, but you gave him a new coach. You've given the Cowboys everything to have no excuses. You improved on defense. You know what I'm saying? So there's no excuse for Dallas this year. And I'm not going to say Super Bowl, but, you know, with after free agency and the draft, we already had one of the most talented rosters in the league, and we right back to having one of the most talented rosters in the league. So I definitely think with a new coach, like, they say it takes a year for a coach to mesh, but look, man, when you a new coach and you have a roster like that, it's win now. We got to win more than one playoff game. I want NFC Championship or bust at the very least. That's my expectations because this roster is too talented not to go that far. Like, anything less than that is a failure, and I don't care if we go 12-4 and don't get there. Like, anything less than getting to the NFC Championship is a bust because we've won a playoff game before with Dak as quarterback. You know what I'm saying? We made it to play against the Rams in the divisional round. We was that team that was 13-3 and had a first-round bye and lost to the Packers.
What's up, Packers?
With Dak at quarterback. So we've done it all. We just haven't reached the NFC Championship or the Super Bowl. So I think the the goal should be NFC Championship. The luxury goal is like, if we could get there, we could get to the Super Bowl. But I think if we don't make it to the NFC Championship, it should be a bust, and you should evaluate, man, do we really want Dak? Can Dak take us over this hump? Because you don't want a guy that can win you a playoff game or maybe 2 every year. You want a Super Bowl. With a roster like that, a Super Bowl is not out of the question as far as being a realistic goal. You know what I'm saying? There's other talented teams. But you look at Dallas, nobody would rightfully say, man, I couldn't see Dallas winning a Super Bowl, except for them being like, I hate the Cowboys, and the Cowboys that do Cowboy things. Like, even with that roster, you guys will still find a way to mess it up. But other than that, like, just evaluating, you be like, that's a Super Bowl roster, just, along with the Ravens and the 49ers and the Chiefs and the Saints. Like, there's a lot of Super Bowl rosters this year.
Tampa
and Minnesota.
Bay, we got Tampa Bay with Brady's in Tampa Bay. I mean, the NFC is going to be tough, man. The Eagles, this still going to be a dog right here.
The NFC is loaded, man. It's going to be tough for
and
everybody.
In the division, every team in the NFC East got better too. The Redskins are moving up. I know they still got to figure out if Haskins is the dude at quarterback, but they got a new coach and Ron Rivera, who's he's a tremendous coach, and that's someone who won for the Giants. So that was a good. The Giants got a little better. I'm defensively still not there, but offensively the teams got better. The Eagles have gotten better. They still got obviously Carson Wentz, and they're a Super Bowl. They're coming off a Super Bowl a couple of years ago. So the NFC East is going to be a dog fight to get out of. So but
and being in the NFC is like, just because your record is bad doesn't mean you are a bad team. It's just you're in a loaded conference now. So like these teams might go 5-11, but like their record don't tell how bad they was. But it's going to be tough facing. Being in the NFC, just facing Dallas and San Francisco and Minnesota, and what I'm saying? There's a lot of good teams, the Saints, the Bucks, the Falcons. The Falcons should turn it around. They should be pretty decent. I mean, they have a decent roster too. So it's like that NFC South might be the best division in the NFC. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, man. The NFC is going to be a dogfight together. But the Cowboys are still maybe one of the top teams in the NFC. And, like you said, it's NFC Championship or bust, pretty much. It's enough with winning the division and being out after one round. It's time to take that next step, and you have the weapons defensively to get it done, to slow down most teams, and offensively you just added CeeDee Lamb. You just added more firepower to that team. You still got a solid offensive line, even though some guys have gotten old and you lost Travis Fredrickson to retirement, but still, you guys still have a top-notch team. Offensively, defensively, you got Mike McCarthy coming in as coach. I mean, everything, if everything goes right, obviously injuries happen and you can't really predict injuries and stuff, but if everything goes right, I mean, the Cowboys in the NFC Championship game is not a shocking, I could definitely see the Cowboys playing in the NFC Championship. So it's going to be interesting to see, how everything goes, and with the whole Dak situation and how the Cowboys go about it. But like I said, man, the Cowboys still, you look at their roster on paper, it still looks good. It's definitely the top team in the NFC East for sure.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about we'll transition from your Cowboys, and we'll talk some hoops, and we'll talk about your Miami Heat. Big time Miami Heat fan. And obviously, the season ending abruptly, you guys were playing great basketball, Jimmy Butler taking over, Bam Adebayo, his rise, from being, someone from, being a solid starter to now he was an all-star, so you guys definitely on, Pat Riley's always got that team, going full strength, and, seems like he just knows how to build teams no matter what. You lose LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, we're just going to reload and find new ways to get better. So just talk to me about this Heat team this year, because this Heat team, like I said, man, it kind of surprised some people of how good you were. It wasn't a matter of you were good or not. It was just how good you are. I mean, I had you guys pegged in as an 8 seed, and I thought maybe next year you guys would take that next step. But this year, man, it was a different season, and obviously, unfortunately, the league had to stop with the unfortunate of the coronavirus and stuff. But just talk to me about that Heat team, and what if we do get back to play, what do you expect from this team if we get back to bowling?
Man, so the Heat exceeded expectations for this year. Other people had what you had with the Heat. Will be like that 7th, 8th seed. Get in. They'll be pretty straight. And then they came out and balled, man. Like Jimmy Butler made a huge difference.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Butler fit the culture. When we got Jimmy Butler, even though we gave up Josh Richardson, I like Josh Richardson.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
play.
Obviously, Jimmy Butler is better. But Jimmy Butler fits the culture. Like, we don't need superstars. Every team needs a superstar, but, like, not every superstar can play in Miami. Like, that culture is something different. And it takes dogs to fit that culture, which is why everybody loved D-Wade in Miami. D-Wade was a dog. You know what I'm saying? The whole time he was a dog. And Jimmy Butler is a dog that same way. Like, he has that winner's mentality. He has that I will win at all costs mentality. I'm not putting his game on this level, but his mentality, he has that Jordan, that Kobe.
Yeah,
he has that mentality, that killer, that I will win at all costs. I'm not here to be liked. I'm here to win championships. Even though he hasn't won a championship, but he has that mentality. He just hasn't been on the team good enough to win a championship. And I think Miami is good enough to win a championship. Not this year, but in the next couple of years, you got to think about it. Like, you look at the next couple of years, Giannis might not even be on Milwaukee. You know what I'm saying? Philly's falling apart. Boston's going to be really good.
Boston.
I think Boston,
Miami. Boston, Miami games we're going to be.
I think those are going to be the Eastern Conference Championship, especially. We sitting on the year after next. We got this money. We waiting to bring a big-time free agent. In the year that we can bring a big-time free agent, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, LeBron James. Obviously, LeBron will be old by then. But, there's a lot of Giannis. There's a lot of guys in that free agency.
That's the big fish right there.
Yeah. Giannis is the big fish.
Pat Riley is already been working on, if everything falls through with everything going on in Milwaukee, if they don't get to a finals, it's hard to turn down Pat Riley.
Yeah,
it's hard to turn out Pat. Yeah, Pat
he walks in there with them rings, but he don't play though. I heard.
With the whole LeBron thing, you saw how it went. He was like, LeBron wanted all these things. Like, no, we run things my way.
And he don't give in to none of the superstars, which is the reason why I heard we didn't get Kevin Durant is because like these superstars come in and typically teams will be like, look, man, whatever you want, you got. Like, just let us know. And Pat Riley comes in there, and the first thing he wants to do, he wants to talk to you, and then he wants to put you through one of his workouts. Like, because that's the culture he built. And that's why I knew Jimmy Butler would fit, because Miami may not have the most talented players, but, like, he makes guys dogs. Like, you know what I'm saying? We've had guys that when they leave Miami, they may not be as successful because, like, it's just – it fits in that culture. Like, there's just certain people, like, guys with the Spurs, you know what I'm saying? They fit that system.
Yeah, exactly.
Outside of that system, they may not be that good, but they fit the system. Like, you even go the football route of systems, like, guys at the Patriots are ballers. They leave the Patriots and they ain't that same
shit, yeah.
And so Pat Riley just takes, you know what I'm saying? He takes your strength. He doesn't worry about your weakness. He takes your strength and elevates it. He has another guy to make up for your weakness, you know what I'm saying? Which is why Bam turned into an all-star so fast. Which is why
player development, man. Player development is just at another level, man. It's tremendous what they do with their young guys.
And it's arguably second to none in the league. I've never seen young players develop. I mean, look at guys like Josh Richardson develop. Like, he was borderline an all-star. He didn't make the all-star, but he could have borderline, in the right situation, made an all-star team. You know what I'm saying? Like, we've had a lot of guys. Tyler Johnson was another one. He was a baller in Miami. He went to Phoenix. He ain't really doing much, but that player development inside that culture is a thing that is probably second to none. And Coach Spo, the fact that he's had his job this long goes to show how great of a coach he really is.
Yeah.
I mean, look at even Hassan Whiteside. We give him opportunity. He turns into an all-star. He leaves us. He got lazy. He didn't want to deal with the culture no more. He didn't have the work ethic to stay with Miami. He got the stardom and was like, look, man, I know somebody else to take me, and I ain't got to work this hard.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? So, he went and got the bag and couldn't handle the culture, which is fine. But like I said, that's when we got Jimmy Butler, man. I was excited. I said, man, that's the type of guy we need. That's the type of guy that'll fit. He don't have to score 30 points a game. You know, he's average
Exactly.
20
Yeah.
points. But we score by committee. You know, Bam,
Exactly.
Tyler
Yeah.
Hero,
Yeah. Tyler
and Kendrick
Hero.
Nunn. Like, if it
Kendrick.
wasn't for John
Yeah.
Morant, Kendrick Nunn would be
Undrafted
winning
guy,
Rookie of the Year.
man. Undrafted Kendrick
Yeah.
Nunn, and he
If it
developed
wasn't,
him. It's
if it
crazy.
wasn't for John Morant, you'd be talking about Kendrick Nunn would probably win Rookie of the Year. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? So
yeah, for sure, man.
Kendrick Nunn is a baller. You know,
They do great.
got a lot of players.
Yeah, man. It's. I've always been impressed with what Pat Rock. But Pat's done this everywhere he's gone. The Lakers, he did it with the Knicks, and he's doing it with Miami. He just built a culture that it's his way, and his way works. So when someone's way works, they're not going to change it. It don't matter if you're LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Dwayne. Look what he did with Dwayne. Dwayne wanted to get money. He's like, no, Dwayne, you got to go. You want to get paid, go somewhere else. And then Dwayne goes to Chicago, and from the jump, it just didn't work. And then he goes to the Cavs, and then that doesn't work. And that's like, oh, I need to go back to Miami. And he goes back to Miami. He's not full prime Dwayne Wade, but he's still a baller. You know, he goes back to Miami and he balls out. So, you know, it's the water down there, man. It's crazy. I don't know. The water down there is crazy. And the founding youth, man, Pat Rock. And I love the way how he handled the Coach Spo thing, because any other team, LeBron James is like, I want Pat Riley to coach. And they probably make that switch, you know. But Pat Riley's like, I'm not coaching. He's the coach.
Yeah.
To him, and good things are going to happen. You got to trust me. I'm not coaching. So don't try to get me to coach. It's not happening. He's the coach. Respect him. And then what happened? They win 2 championships. They get the 4 finals. And Spo, and after that, Spo has done a tremendous job with the lack of talent they had, especially after the LeBron years, you know, and then Bosh going through everything he had with the blood clots, and Dwayne Wade past his prime, and still having this team in the playoffs and you would look at that roster, especially a few years ago, and be like, that's not a playoff team. And he got them in the playoffs. So he was one of the best coaches in the league, for definitely a top 3 to 5 coach in the league for sure. He's built from and I love the story about, you know, he goes from being like a video room guy, you know, just putting up tape, and then he worked his way up, and now he's the head coach, and he's
a top coach
in
the league. And that's just I love, you know, I love the Heat. I always have, you know, now I root for the Lakers. Like I want the Lakers to win the championship just because I'm a big LeBron fan too.
Yeah.
But I've been a Heat fan. You know, Dwayne Wade, my favorite player of all time. Like that's my dude. I liked him since he was in Marquette when I was a kid. So you know, that's what really made me love the Heat. You know, being from Florida too. But like that's Wade is the reason why I love the Heat. And then I love LeBron. You know, LeBron has just been the star for me growing up. So I always follow LeBron. And, you know, since I know my Heat probably won't win the championship, I would love to see LeBron win the championship, especially since, you know, it'll add to LeBron's legacy. And, you know, the Heat, we don't have nobody on our team that's really chasing a legacy or have a legacy to protect. So we'll be okay. We going to end up getting somebody big in free agency, whether it's we going for the big fish with Giannis, and we might fall short and get a guy like Paul George, but I think a guy like Paul George alongside Jimmy Butler would fit also. Yeah, he'll be a little bit older. You know, Paul George will probably be like 32 at the time. But I think Paul George will fit in that culture too. Two-way player, you know, plays offense, plays defense.
Yeah, for sure.
And he got that dog mentality also. Like, sometimes it's not about getting the most talented guy, because we might want Giannis, but if Giannis don't fit the culture, which I think he do, he got that mentality.
Yeah, he has that. I honestly, I would love to see him come to the Knicks personally, because we just need something. But if there's a fit, a perfect fit, it's Miami, man. He fits that. He's a dog too, man. He's a dog too, and he, you know, him, Jimmy, Bam. Oh, man, that's
that would go crazy with a supporting cast of Tyler Hero and Kendrick Nunn.
Good coaching.
I mean, the drafts are getting weaker, so you know what I'm saying? It's starting to be like, I honestly, like next year's draft, man, after the top 5.
Next year's draft's dope. It's gonna be good.
You think so?
Next year's draft's gonna be way better than this year's draft. This year's draft's got a lot of guys that just unknown. Like, you don't know. They could either be bust or they could be good pros. It's very up and down with this draft. Next year, there's some guys that could be elite players. You know, this year maybe one guy, if not any guy, will be elite. But next year's draft got some good hoopers for sure.
Yeah, but I feel like it's not deep. It's like after about the top 5 to 7, I feel like it's a lot of drop off in next year's
but
draft.
that's like most drafts. Most drafts usually, you know. I just did a redraft of the 2012 draft, and you know, there was 4 guys who were like elite, you know, or really good players, and after that, you got solid players. So that's what most drafts where you got top 5 is good, you know, 4 or 5 guys are good, and then the rest are just you got good players, you got good role players, and then you got, you know, a bunch of, you know, guys who don't belong in the league. But that's pretty much it. But yeah, man, the Miami Heat definitely, you know, like most of your teams, you know, they're all trying to they're all getting better, and the future's bright for all your teams. So, yo, this was a fun show, bro. I definitely appreciate you coming on the show, brother. This was we've been working on this for a minute, and it's definitely great to have you on the show, man.
Hey, I appreciate you for having me, man. And like I said, you know, in the next couple of weeks, we're going to work and we're going to swing it the other way, and we're going to put you on the UpNFlamez, and I'm going to ask you the same. You know, we're going to do the same little thing, but we want to get into your teams. You know what I'm saying? I want my people to hear about your team. So
my teams are more sadder, though. So my teams are more sadder, so it might be a little more depressing show. You know, this is an uplifting show. You know, you talk about your Cowboys doing good, your Buckeyes, and Miami. All those teams are looking good. My teams, not so much. But
it's okay though. It's okay, man. Because look, it looks promising for the Cowboys, but we very well might come back on here at the end of the season. I might come on here shedding tears. Like people might need to see you know what I'm saying? It might be a meme of me and the Cowboys is terrible. Like,
man. Yeah. No, but your teams are doing definitely on the come, and I'm looking forward to coming on the show. So just give my listeners just where they can find you on social media, and plug your podcast and all that, because you do good things over there. I love your intro. That's fire. Yeah. It gets me. I was getting. I listened before I came on, and I'm just like, oh, I put it on like repeat like 4 times. I was getting. I was like, oh, okay, I'm ready. I'm getting ready like I'm about to ball. You know. So that's a dope intro too, bro.
Hey, I appreciate it. But yeah, y'all can follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Is Mo_UpNFlamez. Go ahead and I have a Facebook page for it's UpNFlamez Sports Podcast. You find me on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor. You can check me out on there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, man, I appreciate being on your show, man. This is a dope show.
Yeah, man,
you know
appreciate it. Yeah, man. Like I said, I'm happy we got this going, and like I'm rooting for you for your show. You do good things over there. You know, your show is A1, you know, for sure, man. And you know, continue success with all your show. You know, I know you're gonna continue to kill. I'm looking forward to going on your show one day and chop it up even more. I'm looking forward to have you again on, because we got a lot more to talk about for sure, man. You know, it's way more to talk about. We'll definitely get you back on the show again. And man, just be safe, bro. You know, craziness going on with this virus. Just be safe with, you know, hope your family's safe, and man, just like I said, continue success with your show, brother, because you're doing good things, man.
Yes, sir. Same to you, bro. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So I'll make sure to have all your links posted in the description once I get this show edited and all that. So I'll make sure my people, my fans will, you know, make sure to get to follow you and listen to your show for sure. I'll definitely plug all that. But like I said, man, appreciate you coming on. Stay safe, you know, and all that. Continue success with the show again, and we'll definitely chop it up again for sure soon.
All right, bro. Definitely appreciate it.
All right, man. All right, guys. Thank you for listening. I'll have the show up maybe today or tomorrow, but like I said, man, thank you for listening, and take care, guys.